for being with us for our Power Lunch Wednesdays, is virtual workforce webinar series. This is the fourth of 6 weeks, 6 Wednesdays that we've been doing these with some really terrific content in all different areas of working remotely and adjusting our businesses. I just want to take a minute to first welcome you all, to thank Andrea Pass for being part of the program today, to thank my team for all of the coordination as we work remotely, like all of you, and to also tell you that we will continue to put forth information that hopefully is helpful to you, both in terms of linked resources on the curated business page. There are still many businesses that are struggling with figuring out the financial support through stimulus plans and PPP and with the ever-changing rules and regulations for some of those things. We want to make sure that anybody applying for that financial aid fully understands the ramifications. You do so correctly, so that you can in fact turn the PPP into a forgive loan or a grant, because you followed all the rules and you understood it as you went in. The Chamber is going to be launching a whole bunch of new things in the next couple of days. I'll be sending out a note by the end of the day today that will announce a couple of new features, including a job board that is going to be free to members for people to both post resumes and for companies that are hiring to post jobs. And that's going to be a really important tool as we emerge into this recovery. And I'll also report to you that I've been graciously added to a governor's committee on this reopening councils. There's 9 councils that will work on the protocols and make recommendations to the governor's office and administration about how to get our economy open again. And I've been appointed to the Tourism and Entertainment Committee, serving with a bunch of our members. Quite frankly, there's about a dozen of our members that are also included in that, which is great representation from the Meadowlands Chamber. And so we will continue to bring you that information. So thank you for participating with us and continuing to support us as an organization. Continue to feed us information on the things that you need and any support that we can provide to you. And more importantly, continue to engage us in these virtual webinars and virtual networking and the things that we can do while we're still confined to our home offices. So thank you for being with us today, and I will turn this over to Joe Garavente.
Oh, we skipped a spot. So we just want to make sure that everyone has their computer audio going. If for some reason that you also called in, make sure you mute those, otherwise you'll get some feedback. And then on the bottom here, if you hover your mouse here, you'll see the option to start your video. We want to see all your beautiful faces, but no one's compelled to. So if you'd like to do that. And then on the bottom right here, again, if you hover your mouse towards the bottom, you'll see the chat option there. Joe will be helping me monitor questions in there, and we will be taking questions at the end of the presentation for Andrea. And a quick thank you to our sponsors, Cat Associates, the Allstate, the Dan Meredith Agency, and the Gray Cliff. And now I will turn it over to Joe.
Hi, everyone. Just one more thing to add to some of the housekeeping with this. If you want to switch it from gallery view, you currently see everyone's faces scrolling either at the side or at the bottom for you. You might want to switch it to speaker view, which will enlarge the person that's speaking at that moment. It will be more suitable for this presentation. So that's just one more item. And if anyone has any technical questions throughout the program, you can send me a direct message through the chat, and I'll try to help you with it. But anyway, thank you so much to Andrea Pass for speaking today. Just to give participants a little bit of background, this is obviously part of our virtual workforce series. But originally we had conceptualized this with the nonprofit program to give nonprofits a little bit of background information on the evolving media landscape and how public relations is really important. And being that as we were talking to Andrea and we were developing that program, we realized that this was a topic that was of interest to the membership at large, which is why we've integrated it into today's program. And so to just give a little bit of background on the nonprofit committee, I'm going to introduce Jeffrey Ware, who is the co-chair of that committee. He'll give some information about the committee and how what their programming is like during normal times and what it's like during COVID, and also how the nonprofit community here is responding to COVID. All right, thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Joe. Yeah, as Joe said, Andrea had approached us at one of the many networking events that the Meadowlands Chamber provides and asked how she could help with passing on some knowledge to the nonprofit committee, which is basically what we do at the nonprofit committee. We meet once a month and we have an educational presentation from, a fellow chamber member who feels they have something to share and learn from with our committee. And we had actually had this scheduled today for a few months now with Andrea. We were going to do it in person. Then we were going to do it by Zoom. And then Jim and Joe approached us to see if, we could share with the whole chamber, because this is a valuable topic. And of course, we were more than willing to do that, since the chamber is always there to support the nonprofits. The support is just overwhelming all the time. So we were happy to share this knowledge, and there's no limits on who the knowledge can help and how many people can share and get from it. It's not going to take anything away from us to have it out there, and that's been a really great function. We're looking forward to getting back to our monthly meetings in person whenever we can, and if any other members feel like they have something to share with nonprofit committee, we'd love to have you at one of our meetings, and just give me a holler, give Joe a holler, let us know what you'd like to do. I'm also going to I'm going to post in the chat a link to the list of nonprofit members from the chamber website. A lot of the nonprofits are seeing a real increased load in their clientele and need in this time. And if you personally or your business feels like you're in the position to help, either financially or through services or volunteering, take a look at that list of nonprofits, see where your expertise or your interest lies, and see if there's a group there that you could reach out to and ask them, what you can do, or how they can help you, possibly, if there's a need in your organization that they could satisfy. So I'm going to post that list of nonprofit members in the chat. Take a look, and if you're in a position to help, please do so. All right. Thanks again, Joe and Jim and Alex, for setting this up. And Andrea, thanks for offering and then, working with us to expand it along the way.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jeff. And without further ado, Andrea Pass from Andrea Pass Public Relations.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Let's see here. I'm a little technically challenged, so give me a second here so I can get this.
You got this, Andrea. You got this.
Okay, well, I can still see my side.
Well, if you want to do that part where, remember yesterday I was saying on the top, on the left in that red orangey section, you want to hit that little icon that looks like a camera with a play button. Yeah, that should do it.
Okay, now
there you go.
We can start. Good morning, good afternoon. Thank you to the Meadowlands Chamber, to Jeff for sharing me with the rest of the chamber, and certainly Alex, Allie, Joe, and Jim for inviting me to talk about raising brand awareness in the new normal with public relations. So our world is different. What are we doing about our world? So today we're going to talk a little bit about that for your business and how you can grow your business today, not 3 months from now or 6 months, today, using public relations in your marketing mix. So we are all absorbing media all day long. In fact, Nielsen says that we are absorbing 11 hours a day. So how many of you have read a newspaper today, watched a morning show, listened to a podcast, gone on a website, gone on a social media channel? No matter what you're doing, you are absorbing media. So all day long, that's part of our world. Us as business people, us as consumers, us as potential clients, and the potential clients for you. So keeping in mind that public relations is anything that message you're being in the media. But most importantly, I think the challenge here is trying to figure out, well, what's the difference about public relations versus advertising? And so many of us get confused by that. And I'd like to spend a few minutes explaining the difference between advertising and PR, because so many people over my career have said, oh, you're an advertiser. And I have to clarify, no, I'm in public relations. So in public relations, we are earning the media, meaning we are not paying for that media. In advertising, you're paying for that media. So you are guaranteed that on Thursday, your ad will appear in that newspaper, or during a certain TV show, your commercial will appear. That's where the difference is in advertising and public relations. Public relations is earned media. You can't guarantee you show up a specific day, but it is quality third-party editorial endorsement that you're going to earn. In advertising, you're building exposure. You'll know that X number of people read that magazine or listen to that radio show or watch that TV show. You're building exposure that way. It's exposure. In public relations, you're building trust, meaning that if you are quoted somewhere, or your product is reviewed, or there's a feature about your business or your service, or you're giving out some tips, you're building trust for your brand. In advertising, the audience is often skeptical. Yeah, sure. You know, that's not really going to be the way it is. But in public relations, again, the media is giving you third-party validation. They're pretty much endorsing you because they're including you. As I mentioned, guaranteed placement in advertising, it's my job as a public relations practitioner to persuade the media to do a story or include you or your business. So in advertising, you have control over your message, your word choice, your pictures. In media, in public relations, they have the control. An editor is not going to say, oh, can you approve this? No, once you speak to that reporter, you're on the record. So therefore, they have control. In advertising, it's visual. In PR, it's the words that matter to build the trust. In advertising, you're spending a heck of a lot more money than you're spending in public relations. Public relations is the less expensive way to share your message. Advertising, you can pay tens of thousands of dollars for a print ad or a television ad. In public relations, you're working with your public relations representative on a monthly retainer budget, often way less money than advertising. Advertising says, buy this product. In PR, we're saying, this is important. You are important. Your topic is important. So that's where there's a difference between PR and advertising. Okay. As I mentioned, we spend about 11 hours a day watching and listening. But keep in mind, the media today includes TV, radio, newspapers, magazines, blogs, online news sites, podcasts, online video sites, social media. Media today is so extensive that there are so many message points and media outlets to share that with. So for you thinking is right for me, you have to think what media outlets are going to be most valuable to target your specific audience. So if you're selling office furniture in the state of New Jersey only, you want to make sure you're reaching media in the state of New Jersey. If you're selling it nationwide, you want to make sure that you're reaching media that hits those businesses that would be appropriate for purchasing office furniture. If you do mortgage, are the mortgages you do all over the country or only in the state of New Jersey? If you have a parenting topic, the same. Are you reaching local parents, national parents? If you're a lawyer, where can you practice your law? So keep in mind, you need to know, and a PR person is going to help you determine which media is going to be important to you. But most importantly, is your competitor being quoted? If you're reading the newspaper today or you're watching TV and someone is there talking about a specific topic, for instance, healthcare or yourself during COVID-19, and you're not talking about the healthcare you're offering, well, why not? Your competitor is getting in the press because they have a PR person and they're out there reaching it. So you have to think about how you can get that out there and your quotes can be included. So what's important here, and I started talking a little bit before about editorial endorsement, it's non-biased reporting. Keep in mind that a lot of that can be evergreen. Whereas right now, we're top heavy on COVID-19. It doesn't mean that your topic in general can't be reused over and over again during the course of the year. So if you have a general topic, tips about doing your taxes, you're a financial planner, and you're telling people, okay, here are some great ideas that you need to do to pivot for your finances to be in state or for retirement. So keep in mind what are the story angles and plan out your year. So for instance, you know, me and my company, I'm starting in a few weeks on Christmas, Hanukkah products. Yes, I know it's finally going to get warm and we're finally going to be sunning ourselves in our backyards, but for long lead magazines, I have to start talking about the holidays now. I have to start talking about Breast Cancer Awareness Month, which is in October, but I have to start talking about it for short lead in August. If I'm discussing back to school, I have to do that soon. So think about your topic and think months in advance of starting to share the message of what is happening in your business and in your service that pertains to a time of the year. If your business or service is general and there's no specific time of year for visiting a hotel or going to a restaurant or the specific product you might have or service you might have, that's great. Then we come up with new angles to tell that story. And what is the meat in the story and how do you stand out? So here's one example. I got a phone call a few weeks ago from someone who had a chocolate company who said, I'm fighting COVID-19. To which I responded, how are you fighting COVID-19? Oh, I'm donating proceeds to my local food bank. Well, that's great. That was the goodness of his heart. But his story wasn't about COVID-19. The story was how his chocolates could have been great for Mother's Day or Father's Day or graduation or just to cheer somebody up. That was the story. The COVID-19 donation didn't have to be in the press. That should be from the goodness of your heart. So keep in mind, what is the story? What's the meat in your story so that we can tell that story? Not, oh, I have a great product or a great service, but how are we going to get you to stand out? But keep in mind, for a person to even do that, you need an up-to-date website and up-to-date social media pages. So when potential clients or customers are reading about you or listening to a podcast you did, they can reach you for your service or to make a purchase from your site. So take the time now to make sure your website and your social media is up to date because that benefits you for PR in our new normal. Here's one that I'm always amazed about. Clients take out a PR program, but there's no one who could participate in interviews because everyone's too busy. Well, PR means you have to take some time to participate in these interviews because the press doesn't want to interview me about your topic. They can't quote me about your topic. They want to quote you as the owner or as the member of the business. So there has to be someone who wants to participate or can participate in these kind of interviews. So I was telling Alex and Jim when we first signed on today, I'm in the midst of doing a USA Today interview for a new client of mine. and I'm having trouble reaching her even through her virtual assistant. And the interview has to happen today or she misses out on this opportunity on national press. So there's always got to be a member of the team ready, willing, and able to participate in these interviews and to provide feedbacks. And sometimes the deadlines will be an hour from now, and sometimes the deadlines will be a week from now. But in the end, securing the press coverage is going to increase your brand awareness and make you reputable with your target audiences. It's important to have those social media pages set up because you want to increase audience engagement, but you want to have a place to then put the links for all of these articles that you're quoted in. So that increases awareness because you're also tagging the media outlet or other terms that pertain to that media placement. Make sure that you have photography. It amazes me how many clients say, oh, I don't really have pictures. Can you pull it from my website? You know, they're low grain, they're grainy, they're not the right pictures. Always have your headshot. You need a headshot. You need a product image or a lifestyle image, or if you have statistics or studies, you need that information in the sports media. Don't give it all away at once. A good public relations person is going to help you tell the story bit by bit so that reporter keeps coming back for more and you become an important source for that reporter. Breaking news. This is an interesting one because breaking news right now is 95% COVID-19 related. If you have a comment about how your business is pivoting during COVID-19, or you can comment on something going on with government opening certain businesses, that's a great way to get your name out there. It may not sell your product or sell your specific service, but it gets your name out there for the press and it gets people to trust you. And the things that I always tell everybody is make sure you have messages. And again, I help with those message points, making sure when you're doing an interview, you're mentioning your company a few times. So you'll say, oh, well, as Andrea Pass Public Relations, I make sure I teach my clients media training and media relations. So you mention your business a few times, don't overwhelm it, but have your messages in front of you when you're doing a telephone interview or a podcast interview or a time that you're not on video, or if you're on video, have your notes somewhere to the side. Some people practice in front of their computer or their phone. It's a great way to do that when you're doing video content, but honestly, practice in front of a mirror because then you're looking at yourself. You can't focus on anything else popping up on your screen. You're not getting sidetracked. You're making eye contact with yourself, and you're confident in your message. Remember, no one knows your business and your topic better than you do. So you can't really mess it up if you're the one talking about it because you're the expert in that area. Don't get sidetracked on interviews with personal stories. I had a client who got sidetracked saying that he was busy skiing in Europe or wherever he was overseas. And the story ended up being that he wasn't focused on his business because he took too many vacations skiing. Don't talk about your personal life on an interview. Talk about your business and get to the point at hand. And always drive that interview back to your website. If you sell a product, send it to a retailer or to Amazon, but drive back because the whole point of you doing public relations and you doing interviews is to drive awareness so eventually you have another sale for your business. It's time for your product or your business or your service to be in the media today. So public relations gets that message across. I'd welcome the opportunity to answer your questions about PR and share with you more tips. And if you'd like to reach out to me, please do so we can have a private conversation. But it's time to get your press, your business in the press today. So let's book those interviews and start creating your brand awareness. I'll throw it back to Alex.
Hi. Awesome. That's great. Thank you so much for that, Andrea. I thought that was pretty eye-opening. That was pretty awesome. I don't know if the chat was going. Okay. No, I don't see anything in the chat. Let's see. Can I get you to, let's see, maybe we'll unshare your screen real quick. Awesome. Now I can see everybody. There we go. All right. I don't know how do I unmute everybody? Is that a thing? I'm not sure. Let me know, folks, if you have any questions. I know Doug has always got something to say. And so I'm sure he'll have a question or two. I have something in mind as well, but I didn't want to monopolize my time and your time.
In there, less literate, working in the
Is that someone talking to me? I'm not sure.
I went ahead and I unmuted everyone.
Oh, okay.
But some of you may have some background noises. I'm going to try and go through and mute.
Okay, well, we do have one question here that's in the chat right now, and it says, what is the best way to send a press release these days?
Don't send a press, I'm being honest, don't send a press release via a wire service. And I'm hoping that there's no one from PR Newswire that's on this call right now. But wire services today are giving you an SEO bump for 1 hour. That's about it. There are so many people using press release wire services, PR Web. There are many of these different services. And it'll pop up on their website. It will live on their website. But it's not the way that the media is securing their information to formulate a story. So I'm a big believer in one-on-one pitching, meaning you're specifically reaching a reporter at that media outlet. You're taking the time. In the olden days, it was pick up the phone, but in these days, it's writing emails and then them responding to your emails or engaging with them on other platforms. So, for example, as a PR professional, I subscribe, that's my overhead, to a lot of services that have databases. All day long, I am getting emails from reporters. Do you have anyone doing this? Do you have anyone doing that? Anyone that'll fit into this? So that is how I, as a PR person, am reacting to the press. A press release is stagnant. You're just sending it out, you're throwing speak the wall, and you're hoping it'll stick. It's not worth your money to spend that $1,000 on that type of PR when you should be putting it toward one-on-one pitching to reach a media outlet. So I don't recommend press releases other than for content on your website.
Interesting. Does anyone else have a question? Because I have one, but I'd like to let everybody else.
Hello, Doug.
Is Doug raising his hand? I'm sorry, I'm on speaker view.
I spoke to you.
Andrea,
Doug, you're up.
thank you for the presentation. Would you just kind of alluded to it just in your last comment. As a PR professional, would you kind of share with us what are some of the biggest challenges that your industry is facing in these times? Your industry is facing in these times.
That's a great question because I think the public relations industry is facing a slower rate of response. A lot of my PR colleagues were pitching a story. I think I froze. We're pitching a story, and the press people that we dealt with before, their email address might still be active, but they are no longer employed by that media outlet because there are layoffs happening every single day. So we're doing our best to stay on top of who's still there, who's still working, what media outlet has not folded or fired that person. So the biggest challenge I have is that to secure a story or a response is taking me longer than it took me 3 months ago. The other thing is, in the public relations world, pay for play has increased. So there are these opportunities for you to get an interview if you pay for the interview. I am not a believer in paying for an interview. I had a new magazine get back to me the other day about a story about a client of mine, an entrepreneur. She's an inventor of consumer products. And he loved the story that I pitched. let's book an interview. So I get back to him, okay, give me some dates and times. And he says, well, it costs this amount. And I waited. I didn't respond immediately, even though I wanted the knee jerk. I got back to the editor and I said, I'm on the budget right now for paid opportunities. I wish you the best. Please stay well. Regards, Andrea. Well, it took less than 5 minutes. Then he wrote back. He says, don't worry, you don't have to pay. I like the story so much. So now we're doing this interview next week for his magazine with my client out of Texas. But pay for play is out there. As a good PR person, you're going to recommend when to do it and when not to do it. I avoid it as much as humanly possible.
Very cool.
I can't hear Doug.
Sorry. Okay, so we have a question from Raphael. Your point about sending messages out a few months in advance of seasonal events is well taken, but how are you dealing with the uncertainty about when, if events will happen under these circumstances?
Well, I think that there's a big difference between events, meaning if you are holding an event. So you as a business person, if you are holding an event that is not a webinar, then there is going to be that uncertainty. I was supposed to be at the National Hardware Show in Las Vegas in early May. That's been postponed till September. We don't know if it's going to happen. I know personally I will not be going. It's my choice. I will not be going. But if it's an event, yes, there's that, is it going to happen? But if you have a story, that's still happening. So even though a good majority of the news is focusing on COVID-19, it doesn't mean that there aren't stories in media outlets, trade publications, podcasts, other blogs, video content that is happening on your subject. So yes, you can still talk now about how to get yourself prepared for what are your kids going to be doing over the summer? So if you have a business that relates to activities that could pertain to keeping youngsters busy and even educated over the summer, we still want to talk about that. If you're talking about how businesses are growing or pivoting and you are a business consultant, there are methods to get your story out there. So those don't have anything to do with timelines as much. So think broader in what you're doing, and your PR practitioner will help you narrow it down.
Great. Any other questions out there right now?
Andrea, I actually had a question that came through to me privately from somebody, and they asked, what is the first step a small or mid-sized company can take in developing a public relations strategy?
I think that for a small company, whether you're small or you're a solopreneur, the first thing to do is determine who do you want to reach to grow your business. So by determining that will determine how you get that message to the media that reaches that audience. So I think your first step is to realize, what is your message? Do you have meat? Do you have a story other than, I want to get press coverage? So I think for a small business, there are ways to get the message out. And I'd like to point out, I know for Andrea Pass Public Relations, I've changed my business model in these times. I am taking different retainers sizes than I had taken before. We're all in this pickle of making ends meet, continuing to thrive in our businesses, but understanding that we've had to pivot. So don't discount the fact that there are PR professionals out there who can work with solopreneurs, small businesses in these times. Don't discount speaking with someone and saying, this is what I have. I work on a minimum of a 6-month retainer. It takes time. During these hard times, I've changed that to a minimum of a 4-month retainer. Do I like doing that? No, but so far things are moving along that I'm hoping that the clients that I have or will have in the future will then continue after that initial 4-month period. But a PR professional can't work with 1 month. It takes time to book interviews and see rewards coming out, those articles or those interviews coming up.
Andrea, can you just provide a little bit of background about the different structure of working with a PR strategist as far as retainer goes, or by project, by campaign? I think that might help people understand that a little bit better, and why longevity in it may provide a little bit more continuity in the story.
That's a great question, Joe. And I think you want to work with someone who is going to be a part of your communications team long term. One and done, you're going to get sloppy work from someone. They're not going to take the time. They're going to take your money. And then after the month is over, they might have a placement or two for you, but it'll be, why would I bother? Because it's not about the relationship. And I think public relations is about a relationship, so that you have the story and you've seen that company progress being part of their communication team. So PR firms work in a variety of ways. Larger PR firms are going to require that minimum of a 6-month to a 1-year commitment. Obviously, larger PR firms are going to have higher retainers because they have higher overhead, because they're paying staff, they're paying rent, etc. Smaller PR firms or solopreneurs are going to have lower overhead. I mean, my overhead is paying for all of these services that I have to subscribe to because they're helping me. And that's a must. And that's costing me a pretty penny on a basis of a service. So I think that depending on the size of your business and the abilities you have to reach out to a PR person, do your homework and have that informational call with a PR person or a company to see if they're right for you. Look them up online, their business on Glassdoor. If they've had negative reviews on Glassdoor, you don't want to work with those people. So you want someone that people are going to say something nice about. And I think that's the start of your relationship with a PR practitioner. But I say, and I think if I could add one more thing to that, if you work with, for instance, Merrill Lynch, you're going to have to follow the rules to see if Merrill Compliance Department is going to allow you to do your own PR. So that's going to be a little different. So if you work for a company like that, or a law firm, or a big insurance company, you have to see what their corporate rules are before you engage your person.
Excellent point. Excellent point. Do we have any other questions out there? No? Okay. It's just a weird thing you said, Andrea, that stuck out to me. You said that the chocolates, that the story wasn't that he was donating profits to COVID-19 relief, that the story was the Mother's Day chocolates and whatever. And I was like, wow, I would think the story is that he's donating his profits. So I guess if you could expand on that a little bit.
And let's be honest, we are all, I hope, doing something. You know I've done financial donations to different groups, and I've done some pro bono work for some nonprofits in these COVID times. But if you're a business person, and argument's sake, you're donating, proceeds. So you're not donating the sale of, you're donating maybe a percentage, so 10% of what you make on that. So that can end up being that you're donating $50 if you're a very small business. So I apologize. I don't want to offend anyone, but this time isn't about let's pat me on the back because I made a donation. It's look for the correct angle. And the correct angle in this case is let's cheer somebody up on a holiday and send them some chocolates. So I think that you have to look at it differently in this case, because not everything is going to have to relate to COVID-19. If you are a wellness coach, or you have a at-home fitness, how are you helping people in this time? If you have a learning center, or if you are a restaurant that is having online recipe demonstrations, let's focus on that and say, oh, and if you decide that you don't want to make this at home and you want to order it from our restaurant, mention that you saw us on the Meadowlands Chamber of Commerce and you'll get a discount. So there's ways to do this that you're not tying every single thing into COVID-19, because our world is expanding from it. God willing, we will find a vaccine. But for those of us here in New Jersey, we have to pivot a bit and think about what is business and what is personal, and fit that into the story as appropriate.
That makes
Andrea, when do you think that the story starts or how is the story evolving past just the initial response of COVID-19? And now what are the storylines that are I guess getting traction right now?
I think the storylines getting traction have to do with, number one, what are people doing during these times? So it's not necessarily your business, but to tie your business in with your personal. What are people doing? How is the travel agency pivoting to then maybe offer seminars on virtual travel experiences? But I think that, like, for instance, the interview that I'm right now is talking about and what to eliminate of your technology to help save some dollars. So how are people saving money? Because so many people have been let go from their jobs, not for performance, we know that. They're let go because the money isn't there, or they've been furloughed, or they've had hours cut and they need to make up those hours doing something else. So there are angles to say, what are we doing differently? How are people doing things differently? In my case, my client is speaking about what technology to cut from your budget to save some money. So I know there are certain subscriptions I've cut out. They came up for renewal. I realized I didn't need them for my business. They were really personal subscriptions, and I cut them out of my budget. So think of what you're doing and what tips do you have? Tips make stories. Statistics make stories.
Interesting. I got lost in that thought. I was just.
Yeah.
So, Mike, I see you have a comment here in the chat, but I'm not sure I understand your question. Maybe if we can find him, we can unmute him, because it says, are there any other comments about working with government agencies? So I'm not sure if I understand that, unless you understand that, Andrea.
From a public relations standpoint, if you are working with a government agency, you can certainly, like Jim was mentioning that he was just named to an advisory board, that certainly is press-worthy, but you shouldn't go out and publicize that on your own without approval from the government agency that you're working with. So from a press standpoint, you have to be careful in those waters, because the state departments or the county departments will have someone handling the public relations. So check with them before you would put out any announcement or reach any news persons and say, oh, I'm now a member of this committee, because you don't want to get on anyone's bad side. You want to follow the rules. So I think that from a PR standpoint, if that's the direction, Mike, your question was, I hope that answered it.
That's got it. You hit the nail on the head. Thanks, Andrea.
You're welcome.
Awesome. There you go. Okay, do we have anyone else? Any other questions before we thank Andrea for joining us today? No, I think we're good. Okay, great. Joe, anything else before we say goodbye to Andrea?
No, that's it for me. Andrea, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
I'd just like to add, perception is reality. You want to see it as an effective business. You want the reality of our meeting about, seeing you will sell more product. So make sure you got to be in it to win it. So let's do that. My two hokey quotes, but those are the elements that are important in public relations. And if you'd like to talk, Andrea has public relations. I hope we can connect, and I always appreciate everything that the Meadowlands Chamber is doing for us during these. Someone just pizza that I broke up. I hate when that happens. All of a sudden, you get that little video and your internet interrupted. But I was saying, perception is reality. You got to be in to win it, and make sure that your company is in the press, and reach out to me, Andrea Pass, Public Relations. And I look forward to seeing everyone on the next Meadowlands. So thank you, everybody, for joining me, and I hope learned a little bit.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Andrea. I certainly learned quite a bit. And thank you again to our sponsors and to everyone who is on the call. We will be posting this up on our YouTube channel and probably our blog. I
Yes,
think
we will.
Okay, there you go. So if you didn't catch the whole thing, we will have the recording available probably at some point today, if not probably tomorrow. And again, thank you so much, Andrea Pass from Andrea Pass Public Relations. And thank you all. Thank you for joining us. Stay safe.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Take care, everyone.